Hi, thanks for stopping by to watch me, Leah, cook kosher. Today I'm going to show you how to make the crowning glory of Rosh Hashana, the apple crown cake. Since we need some apples peeled and sliced, we're just going to go ahead and use our nifty little tool here that actually peels, cores, and slices. Take one of your apples. I like to use the core side onto those prongs, and you just push and turn. Probably don't really need to press it down to the tabletop, but I like to get that extra leverage when I'm cranking there. And then so you simply pull it off, and look at that, all these little slices. And to get those rings, just slice the apple in half, and look at those are going to be perfect, especially if you make something like the apple crown cake, because you'll have nice uniform shapes to go across your cake. But a very quick way to get lots of apples. So what I have here is 1/3 cup of honey. Scrape every last bit of that goodness out of there. I have my tablespoon of cinnamon. This initial stage of coating the apples with the honey and cinnamon, we want to do very carefully because I'm going to count out some slices for the top decoration, and we don't want them all broken. So we're going to count out all our little apple rings and set them aside. And last I heard, 7 times 4 was 28, so that will be our little 7. Okay, that's looking great. We're going to set it aside and get the cake batter going. All right? The apple crown cake is actually a 1-bowl cake, plus all these other bowls. But it's called a 1-bowl cake because to do it, we're just going to put everything in and beat it once. It's so simple, it's crazy. Oh, and if you can't keep up with these ingredients, just remember to go to leahcookskosher.com, and the recipe will be there, the photo, and all the step-by-step process. So you don't have to try to keep up with me here. Again, it's leahcookskosher.com. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and put the flour into the bowl, and the sugar, and the baking powder. Basically, I'm putting my dry ingredients together first. And that way there, I can use my fun little whisk. Because if you ain't having fun, it ain't gonna happen, right? And then I'm gonna go ahead and add my canola oil, my 4 eggs. Of course, before you use your eggs, you're gonna check them for blood spots. The orange juice. Okay, so we're gonna go add the vanilla. All the ingredients are inside. I'm just gonna go ahead, flip the bowl onto my mixer. I'm gonna use the paddle attachment, not the whisk. Set that on, little crank. It's gonna get noisy, so we're gonna go ahead and let this just beat for a few seconds to mix. And then I'm gonna crank it higher so we can go ahead for about 2 minutes. Maybe not that high yet. Okay, let's get that flour in. I'm used to the giant bowl, so there we go. Before I turn it up, we're going to beat it on a higher speed, almost as high as it'll take without flying away, for 2 minutes. And it's really important to do that because that's what's going to give your crown cake that lift, okay? So I'll see you back in 2 minutes. You don't want to hear this. Okay, that's looking pretty good there. Take the bowl off, and we're gonna scrape every bit of goodness back into that bowl. I mean, how much easier can it get to make a cake? Seriously, you know, and then you get to be the hero. We all like to be the hero. A word about the pan. Traditionally, the recipe calls for 1 9-inch tube pan, or angel food pan. That's what this is. You know, you punch the bottom out. This holds about 4 pounds of batter, which is this and the apples. These are 2 7-inch angel food pans. Okay? This equals that. So anytime you have a recipe that says it makes one 9-inch angel food pan, it'll make 2 of these, which is perfect because if you don't want to eat the whole thing, you can make 2, freeze one for later, or better yet, give one as a gift. Then you get to be the hero twice. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just make the one today. So since this comes out, what I like to do is only spray the centerpiece. I don't spray the sides of my cake pans because that prevents them from rising up. And we want this guy to really rise. So we're going to go ahead, spray it well, pop it back in, and put it there. Now, in the bakery, we go ahead and we do things like scaling every layer. We're not going to do that. We're going to wing it, okay? We're going to wing it like Grandma used to do. We're going to put about 1/3 of the batter into that pan. And it's a thick batter, but if you give it a little time, it's going to cover the bottom, and we're just going to give it enough of a base to support the apples on the bottom. Otherwise, the apples will be at the very bottom of the cake, and that's not going to be a good thing. Okay, so now you have a very thin layer at the bottom. We're going to take our apples that are in the bowl. I'm going to just kind of crunch them up a little bit. And we're going to put half of these in. Now when I put them in, I want them to lay on top of that cake batter. And I don't want them to stick to the side like this, because if they do, when you take the cake out, they fall off. So go ahead, use about half of your apples, and then we're going to go ahead and put about the half of the remaining batter. And it's thick, so I'm just going to go ahead and sort of pour it on there. Another trick in working with these apples, if you wet your fingers with the cinnamon and honey, you can move that batter around without it getting sticky all over your fingers. And we're going to go ahead and add the rest of the apples as evenly as possible without standing them up on the side. I have extra juice. I'm going to go ahead and pour about half of that on there because I don't want to lose any of that cinnamon in this cake. And now I'm going to go ahead and polish off the rest of what's in this bowl. It always looks like it's not enough batter, but the truth is, whether one layer has a little more batter, one layer has a little more apples, it doesn't really matter. In the end, it's all going to cook to a glorious crown of goodness. I'm going to use some more of that honey and cinnamon, smear that around. So now we have batter, apples, and we're going to end with the top layer of the apples beautifully arranged. So we're going to start by just setting the top one down, and you cover the core area with the outside ring of the other, and we're just going to go ahead and line these guys up. I'm just going to insert a few more of these where I did pull the biggest ones out, so I'm going to have a nice full layer of apples. Okay, that's it. That's the big mystery of the apple crown cake. But we're going to bake it at 325. It takes a good hour and 15 minutes, a little bit more. Now ovens vary, so it's really important that you know that it's not just about the time, it's about what the finished product looks like. When this bakes, you're going to bake it until it springs back. And we'll show you what that looks like when we pull this one out of the oven. Okay? See you in an hour and a half. Let's take a look and see how our apple crown is doing. It's a cake, so we don't want to fool around too much with an open oven door. Oh, no. Does it smell like Rosh Hashana yet? I'm thinking, yeah. Do you see that spring? That is what we are looking for. Now, this beauty is going to shrink a little bit. That said, it's gorgeous. This is what the apple crown cake looks like after it has had a chance to cool. You might recall that it was actually much higher when it came out of the oven, and it has settled. Now, there is a trick to getting it out of the pan. all cakes, basically, I think this to myself, you cut on the pan, not the cake. And what I mean by that is you put your sharp knife straight against the metal. You hear that metal? Because if you don't cut against the pan, you're cutting part of the crust off of the cake. And because this is an angel food pan, the bottom will punch up, and we pull that gorgeous cake out. It is still a little bit warm, but it's not so hot that it's going to start to bulge. I've cooled it enough so that it is supported on the outside. I'm going to take my very thin knife and just very gently sort of try to loosen it around the centerpiece there. And then I take the sharp knife, I'm pushing that, it's a flexible knife, and I'm pushing down on it. I can hear the metal, because if I'm not, I'm going to have my knife angling up and cutting a big chunk out. You can ask me how I know that. Okay, so now it's loose, and I'm going to spin. I'm spinning that pan. That's taking the cone out. Now I'm going to have to go a little faster, or I could end up with a cake that's going to break on me, and I don't want to do that. Okay, and down it goes. How perfect is that? Pretty good. All right, this is simply apricot jam that we've nuked in the microwave, and we're going to brush that over the top. And I don't even think I need to explain why. I'm sure you can see that gorgeous sheen that's being put on top. As much as I would like to take a big hunk out of this and go, just like they do on all the shows, well, I'm not going to do that because it's not the holiday yet. But anyway, how can you not have a sweet new year if you have this cake on your table? Oh, and remember, all my great recipes are on leahcookskosher.com.